second. I don't read very many books, and the reason I've told you this, I don't know, I'm sure everybody heard this before. Let me make sure my mic's on. Yeah, I've told people that I don't read books, and the reason is to put me to sleep. Um, so I don't know what books exist out there, what fictions exist out there. Um, what great stories that aren't true. Some of them are. I mean, there's great stories that are true and ones that aren't true, but they're called fictions, the ones that aren't true. And there are also the ones that are inspired by truths, but are still fictions. Um, I had this idea today, and I was thinking about Howard Jones, who's one of my favorite musicians. He's a Buddhist, and he tried to write a song once to try to pressure people to understand the reason why it's wrong to eat animals. And I thought, what would really bring forth his idea home to people would be something a little bit better than that. Is something that's less explicit, something is more kind of a is more a crime. And having taken a course in guerrilla video uh, course that I had, where the whole idea was to manipulate context. The idea is to identify things that you just don't do on TV, you don't do on radio, you just don't do in the media, and such things are like what you find in All in the Family when people decide to use the urinal and flush the toilet. That was something that was done in that show, hasn't been done since, and has been considered to be in bad taste. But they did in that show because they were trying to show that there are things you just don't do on television. And one of them that you'll come to realize is that nobody ever stops in the middle of a line to go and take a shit. It never happens. And you come to realization that if people don't really take a shit in the storyline, then how are they even real people? And so that's what made All in the Family more believable, was that their characters actually shitted, and actually went to the bathroom. Um, and I'll use those. I have no problem with using cuss words. I'm sure there are people that can't handle the words. They're the same people that couldn't handle rap, because that's the reason why those guys do that. It's to get rid of the people. It's to weed out the crowd that would be accepting of them. Okay. I use it sparingly. I try to use it sparingly, mainly just to for emphasis. It's my idea of using French words. Some people use French words. Even French will use American words whenever they want to put emphasis on something. And but in rap, they'll use cuss words to put emphasis on things. It's the spice. It's the spice that makes things a little bit hotter, a little bit that kind of knocks you off your seat. you know, to have a little bit of something in there that just brings through with emphasis the reason why something is important. It pricks up your ears, and you go, okay, what was that about? Because he just cussed there. That was emphasis. He did that for a reason, and that's the reason why I use those cuss words, is for emphasis. It has nothing to do with trying to be outrageous or anything. I'm just trying to get people to wake up because they might fall asleep and they're expecting me not to cuss, because I don't do it most of the time. I only do it every now and then, and I use it. I only do it whenever I feel something, whenever I'm trying to aggressively put to the point something that's important. You know, so I'll say something like that. But anyhow, what I did earlier today is I tweeted to Howard Jones and Stephen King, and I said Howard Jones is a Buddhist who doesn't believe in eating animals. Stephen King is a writer who writes stories that are often horrific. Um, Imagine having a story that's about an animal, a protagonist animal, that halfway through the story gets eaten. That's a crime to the reader, to have your protagonist eaten halfway through the story. And it pushes through the point that Howard Jones wants to push through, is that that's kind of the way he feels when people eat animals. And I'm not saying that I don't eat animals. I'm just saying that to get his point across, there's other approaches to doing it, and one is to do a crime to readers, to really rape the process of thought and expectation of a reader, to have a story. And what is the rest of the story going to be about? It's going to be about the guy digesting this animal and the result of it, and maybe there's a funeral in there. But you go into it, and your friends are going to present it to you the way that some kids present to adults a playlist full of 80s music that somewhere in there's going to be a Rick Astley video. Never going to give you up, never going to break, never going to turn around. The popular Rick roll, which is what every little kid who has parents that are 80s kids, what they love to throw in the playlist or in the queue. They'll throw in a Rick Astley video, and they go, "Aha! We Rick rolled you." You know, same thing here. Aha! We just ruined your whole day there. We got rid of your protagonist. There went the story. Now we're talking about a funeral of a Kermit the Frog that got eaten halfway through. You know, if you can imagine watching the Muppets and then all of a sudden all the Muppets get eaten, it turns into a Stephen King novel where people start dying off because the protagonists are dying off. You've developed this loving relationship with the Muppets, and all of a sudden they're all getting assassinated in this story. That would give you some idea of what it feels like to be Howard Jones and to look at the crime of people eating animals. You know, and so that would help Howard Jones put forth his idea that we should stop eating animals. And actually, it's not too far from what the Bible teaches early on, that there was a certain group of people there that fighters that did not eat animals. They ate vegetables. They were vegetarians. Vegetarian warlords. I forgot who the names of these guys were, but they developed. They became like vegetarian ninjas. This stuff exists in the Bible, and nobody would ever know this unless people described it this way. But they do exist. There is vegetarian ninjas in the Bible. They're not ninjas, but they're ninjas of a sort. They were really good warriors. But they chose not to eat animals. They chose to eat vegetables. And it was beneficial, you know. Probably the reason why uh, God didn't want people eating pigs was because pigs have a tendency to have more worms and things in them. You can't eat pork tartare like you can beef. Beef you can eat tartare. You can eat it raw. You can't eat raw pork. It's not possible. Um, it might be possible now that the pork producers, the farmers, are raising pigs from the same male sperm, and then it forces now, as a result of the potential of disease, annihilate an entire cattle farm of pigs. They raise them in clean rooms. At least that's what it says in This American Life about the pig farm. You know, you'll be able to find it on YouTube. It's really kind of bizarre. One of the guys that was in doing this story said, I could be anywhere. I could be covering the Dixie Chicks. I could, for Rolling Stone. I could be over here doing this, but I ended up being at this terrible venue of covering this story, and I get to watch a female pig with all these little piglets shooting out her ass. And when he saw that, he said he literally vomited in his mask. Now, if that's not a good reason to go and see that flick, I suggest go and do it. It's a Showtime, This American Life. Look up Pig Farm. You should be able to find it. Find a link to it. It's really great. But it's so funny. It's so hilarious. It's also kind of tragic because you didn't realize that pig farms are no longer like the pig farms we imagine them to be, where pigs are in the mud. That doesn't happen anymore. These pigs are raised in clean rooms. When they crap, it goes into a trough below them. They never get dirty and they never move. And they said that usually these pigs will die on the pathway out of the little bins that they keep them in. Once they start using their muscles, there's so much protein in their muscle, so much muscle in them, that they literally die from the act of making those muscles work. It's something about it causes them to die on the spot. They never make it to the slaughter. So, I mean, I was just like, whoa, that's pretty deep, you know. But nobody ever sees these documentaries. Only guys like me see these documentaries because I watch documentaries. I'm not saying those documentaries are justified or that they're true or false. I'm just saying they're pretty profound what they're claiming is going on. And it's probably a good reason, and would be compelling reason for people to pay more attention to such things. And that's what I'm suggesting to Howard Jones, is that rather than writing a book about the crime, about a story about people eating animals, and describing it like it's a execution. How about a story where you come to realize that these animals are like Kermit the Frog, and then halfway through the story, or at some point in the story, they get killed and eaten by somebody that had nothing to do with the story, someone that's off on the sidelines that just said, hey, you know, that Kermit the Frog looks pretty appetizing. I think I'll kill him and eat him right now. And such stories would just, it would be, the reader would be, felt like they got rickrolled, and they'd go, oh man, I can't believe I read this story to get exposed to this, you know. And you can put it in a music video and make it 5 minutes long, you know, develop their relationship, and then in the last fifth of that video, Kermit the Frog dies and some guy ends up eating them, and then they have like a short funeral. And you're like, oh man, it was getting interesting. All of a sudden, somebody had to kill Kermit. See what I'm saying? So.